worked for 9 years doing conservation projects that preserve 15,000 acres of threatened habitats in Oregon and Washington. And before that, he served as the Director of Technical Programs for the Lower Columbia Estuary Partnership. When not at work, he's often on rivers doing whitewater rafting with his family, or kayaking or canoeing. He's also got some guests with him today, so please join me in giving a warm Rotary welcome to Scott McEwen.
So I wave my hands a lot when I present. Can everybody hear me, or do you want me to have a mic? Okay, I will use the mic. So if I wave my hands, it'll come in and out. So thank you for the introduction. With me here today, I have a few people from Clean Water Services. Shannon Huggins, you want to raise your hand? Abby Rode, who is the engineer for the Balm Grove Dam Removal Project. John Getz, who's the site manager for Clean Water Services for the Balm Grove property now. And Daniel, you want to raise your hand? Your position at Clean Water Services?
Community Engagement Manager.
So, there are a few of us here to answer questions. I have a half hour or less to cover a lot. So, I'm going to talk fast. Let's wait till the end for questions. There will be things that come up, but sometimes we can take too much time and not get through all the materials. So, to start off, how many of you have heard of Balm Grove Dam? You want to raise your hands? Okay. How many of you have actually swam or recreated at Balm Grove? Okay. Well, and I'm one that has swam and recreated. Actually, during that 112 degree heat spell, that's where I was. And there were a lot of other people there. So, but what I'm here to talk about today is not so much swimming, but the removal of the Balm Grove Dam. So just, can everybody see this okay? There's actually like prime seats right here. There are 4 seats. So anybody over there who can't see the screen, there are 4 seats right here. If not, you're welcome to stay where you are. But, so this is an image that I love of the Tualatin watershed. So this is the basin that drains into the Tualatin. You've got the Coast Range here, you've got the West Hills and the Tualatin Mountains. Here's Forest Grove. And Balm Grove is out here near where Highway 6 and Highway 8 come together. And the Balm Grove Dam was put on the Gales Creek, which is a very important stream that goes into the Tualatin River. And a little bit about the history. You're not going to be able to see this, but Joyce Sauber, who is a historian that lives in Gales Creek, she's a contributor to the Gales Creek Journal, put together a wonderful poster that shows some of the history of the Balm Grove site. So nobody knows, at least I don't know, when exactly the Balm Grove Dam was built. Does anybody know? It was sometime in the 30s. And it was not built as a mill site. It was not built to generate electricity. It was built as a swimming hole. So the dam was built, and there actually, you saw the first slide of the concrete structure of the dam, but they also put about 4 feet of flashboards above the dam that held back the water. So there was a swimming hole behind that. And some of these images from the 1930s and 40s and 50s show the tavern. Did anybody ever go into the tavern? It's kind of falling apart right now, but yeah, there's a tavern there, swimming photos, fishing photos. There are old newspaper articles about community gatherings, dances, music. So it has been historically a well-loved and used community gathering site. In the more recent past, in the 2000s and beyond, the site basically became sort of derelict. The tavern, if you've seen it, driving down Gales Creek Road, is not really much of a building any longer. The site is overgrown, or was overgrown with weeds, trash. And so in 2016, Clean Water Services, who is the utility, a really important wastewater utility and stormwater utility in much of the urbanized area, purchased the property for the purpose of restoration. So here you see, this is Balm Grove Loop Road right here. Here's Gales Creek Road. Here's the dam site. It's about 12 acres. The property includes both sides of the stream. This is Gales Creek running in this direction. And Clean Water Services bought the property to actually remove the dam. And I'll talk a little bit about why that was important. So it's not a very big dam. It's not like, Bonneville Dam or Scoggins Dam. It's a very small dam. It's about 3 feet high. So here you see it's about, the concrete portion is about 3 feet high. And then, as I said earlier, when there was a swimming hole, they would put flashboards in here that would raise the water back behind it by about another 4 feet. And then there's this concrete sill here. So even though it's a small dam, it is a huge detriment to salmon, steelhead, lamprey, fish that are anadromous fish that spawn and lay eggs and rear in the freshwater above Balm Grove and then out migrate to the Columbia. So the dam blocked access to multiple fish species. Even though it was a very small dam, this is a shot in the spring, summer, it blocked passage to salmon and steelhead. During higher water, salmon and steelhead can get over the dam. It's more just like a wave during higher water, so the salmon and steelhead can get back over it. And then interestingly, that 90-degree angle right there, that's a 100% barrier to Pacific lamprey. So Pacific lamprey, for those of you who don't know, is a 400-million-year-old eel species that has been in this area for millions and millions of years. And that 90-degree angle, nature did not design 90-degree angles. And so even though it's a low dam, Pacific lamprey cannot get over that 90-degree angle. So those are some of the biological and ecological reasons of why the Balm Grove Dam was problematic. So just briefly, and I don't have a lot of time to go into this, so anadromous fish that spawn and lay their eggs in fresh water and then go out to the ocean to spend their adult lives, and then they come back to what are called their natal streams, or the streams that they were born in. That's called anadromous or anadromy. And Gales Creek, which is a very cold, clean stream, is very, very important for coho, steelhead, cutthroat trout. And these fish spawn way up here in the top part of Gales Creek, over by Glenwood and beyond that. And I'm not going to get into all the details, but if this is where the Balm Grove Dam is, the fish spawn here, they go all the way down Gales Creek to the Tualatin River, winding through to the Willamette River, where the Tualatin comes in at West Lynn, and then they go out the Willamette to the Columbia River, then out the Columbia River, and then out to the ocean at Astoria. They spend 2 to 3 years out there, and then they come back, and they repeat the cycle. And throughout that cycle, it is fraught. It is fraught by predation from larger fish, predation from birds, water quality, dams. There's a whole number of things. Orcas that are out here eating adult salmon in the Puget Sound area. So there are very few salmon and steelhead that actually make it back. And so anything that we can do to try to minimize the effort, minimize the things that are impeding salmon spawning, steelhead spawning, that's part of the reason why Balm Grove Dam removal was important. Oh gosh, I don't even know if I'm going to get into this one. You're not going to be able to see this. This is a very complicated graphic, and on this screen with this size of a group, I'm not going to be able to show. But if this is Balm Grove Dam, and all of this green area is what's called the habitat above Balm Grove for salmon, steelhead, and Pacific lamprey. And all these dots, and I'm not going to get into this, but all of these blue lines and yellow lines all show all the habitat that was opened up that salmon, steelhead, and lamprey are now able to access because the dam was removed. And these numbers here are the number of miles. So 87 miles have been opened up to access to these fish for cutthroat, 28 for steelhead, so on and so forth. So it just gives you a sense of the amount of habitat that was disconnected before the dam was removed. So here's a aerial view taken from a drone that, John, I think you took this drone image of the dam. And this was probably in the spring, summer, based on the water flows. And what I'm going to show you next is the actual dam removal process. You know, some folks are like, why don't you just use dynamite? Just blow the thing up, it'd be a lot less expensive. And well, that's maybe something that could have been done in the 1950s, but given state and federal regulations now, that's just not what can be done. There's a lot of effort and sensitivity put into a project in a stream or a river. So some of the things that you're going to see me talking about in the next few slides is, so this is the dam site. You actually see the construction equipment in the stream. Here, the flow, the stream's coming down this way, and there's something called a coffer dam here, and it directed the flow away from the construction area around the former dam site and out this way. So this is the diversion channel. So the next few slides I'm going to show you a little bit about the specifics and the care that was taken to remove the dam. So here's a diversion channel. It gives you a sense. So this was done in the summer when the flows were really low, August, September. That's the best time to do this kind of work. So the diversion channel is conveying that water around the construction or the deconstruction site. This is what I described as the coffer dam. So in this area here, the water is moving this way, and then these large sandbags were placed here to move the water into the diversion channel. And then these folks over here with all these nets, they're actually scooping up small fish, mussels, crayfish, frogs, salamanders. It's part of a fish salvage operation. And it's something that's required when you're doing these kinds of in-stream projects. Here's now downstream. The water's a little bit deeper. These folks are using what's called a seine net. And they are also collecting fish. And the water's getting pumped out of this pool below the dam into here, and then gradually they're gathering up the fish. So you can see it's not a very big dam, but you know what? As wonderful it was as a swimming hole, there's a lot of rebar, sharp rebar, and rock down here, and there's wood, and it was actually a really dangerous swimming hole. So I don't know if anybody ever had any accidents there, but it was not designed, the downstream portion was not designed as a swimming hole. The swimming hole was designed upstream when you put in those flashboards. So this gives you a sense of the amount of fish that were saved or salvaged. You know, literally thousands of crustaceans and mussels and frogs and fish were salvaged before any of the construction occurred. I love this photo. This is a cutthroat trout. So those of you who are anglers will recognize this. This is one of the species that will benefit from the removal of Balm Grove Dam. One of the things that is most important that people don't think about is that this low dam acted as a barrier for fish that are downstream to get to colder water. So if you swam at Balm Grove or any of the streams around here, it gets really nice. It's a really nice warm temperature. It's actually too hot for cutthroat, steelhead, coho. And so these fish that were downstream of the dam, they tried to get up to the colder water above the dam, and they were blocked. And they often died from lack of oxygen in the water because the water was so warm. I'm not going to get too much into this, but these are the results of the fish salvage operation, and I just wanted to show you, just for steelhead and salmon alone, 311 coho were saved, and 152 steelhead were saved. These were small fish, this size, just yearlings or juvenile fish that were stuck at the base of the dam trying to get up to that cold water, but they couldn't get up there. So all of these fish either found some other stream that was colder where they could survive the August and the September temperatures, or they perished. I'll put $1 into the brag basket for anybody who can give me the common name for this species. It's a Cope's giant salamander. So I'm going to put $1 in just because people said salamander, but it's actually a Cope's giant salamander. And they found this. What a crazy, creepy looking thing. But yeah, I love that. So this is now what the actual construction looked like. Lots of folks, working, salvaging fish before the deconstruction of the dam actually occurred. The actual deconstruction was fairly straightforward. It used a large hydraulic hammer and just pounded away. 70 truckloads of concrete and steel rebar were removed from the site. For those of you who maybe have driven up and down there during the deconstruction, you saw all this material hauled off the site, and it was ultimately recycled. And then another real neat aspect of the contractor, and the contractor was called Biohabitats, and they do this kind of work, is that in the machinery that was in the stream, instead of petroleum products as hydraulic oils or fluids, they actually used vegetable oils. So if you've been around a construction site, you know there's a lot of drippage coming off the machinery. They use vegetable oils. So if there was anything that got into the stream bed, when they put the water back in, it wasn't a source of contamination. One other thing, and some of you can't see this white text down here, but this is an image of part of the stream below the dam. And this large wood structure right here, though it looks very messy from a fish perspective, that's great shelter. So if I'm a little juvenile salmon or steelhead that's trying to hide from a kingfisher or an otter or a smallmouth bass or something like that, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to hide in there. The other thing that these things called large woody debris provide is it provides spawning gravels. So back behind here, when the water's higher, all these gravels and cobbles will settle out here, and those are actually spawning beds for steelhead and salmon. The other thing that I think is neat is that, so this is the landowner here, private landowner here. You can see the eroding bank. So the large wood is also protecting that bank. So it's serving multiple different goals. And this is what it looks like without the dam. So we miss Balm Grove as a swimming hole, but I celebrate a free river now, and a river that is fully functioning for fish. It's beautiful out there right now. I'll talk a little bit about what's next. So here's a view. It's kind of a light image. So the work's got done in 2023, next summer. There will be some additional stream enhancements, some more large wood will be put into the site. When you get real high waters like we have now, have you folks seen the high waters? It's crazy. And when the dam was removed, the stream is going to change its bottom. It's going to change its shape. So the engineers, Abby, who is the main engineer for this project, wanted the high water to start to shape that. And then based on what the high waters leave us, once they go down, it'll give the engineers and the ecologists a better sense of where they should be putting large wood upstream of the dam. So then also, you can see there's a lot of bare ground there. And John, if you want to say a few things, some of the opportunities going forward once all the large construction projects are done. Is there anything you want to say about stewardship or enhancement opportunities?
Well, I'll just briefly say the trees and things that you see along Gales Creek as you're driving around, we're going to try to essentially emulate those plant communities. But we will also have opportunities for the public to get involved with being part of the stewardship. So tree planting and other activities that are out there. And what you see up there are pictures of far left is a truck that's actually one of them is being unloaded over at our Oregon Roses cooler right now. We're gearing up for our bare root planting season. We have about 1 million trees and shrubs that we're going to put in the ground this year. Picture of one of the crew members in the middle there holding what bare root plants look like, and then on the far right, that's one of our crews working right up to the edge of a creek, getting the trees and shrubs planted as part of our stream crediting and bank erosion prevention techniques associated with these projects. So.
Thank you, John. The other thing that this site is providing great educational opportunities. So Portland State University is taking students out there. I think there's an interest in trying to get some of the local high school kids as part of their STEM curricula out doing water quality monitoring or sampling some of the insects that are in the stream that are also food for fish. So there's a lot of opportunities for not only volunteer work in terms of planting, but also trying to get some local students involved in educational opportunities. And with that, are there any questions? Just so you know, that's a Pacific lamprey right there. That's that crazy looking eel that's 400 million years old. And the removal of Balm Grove Dam, though it's a very ugly fish, it's a very important fish, and it's going to be able to access another 30 miles of stream upstream for spawning. So any questions?
When I'm fishing down in Warrington, Astoria, the salmon, they're checking my fish for if they've been tagged. So I wondered if you tagged any of these so you know if they came back.
We have not done that. That's a great question. These are all untagged fish up here. So no, simple answer. Question?
The property that now belongs to Clean Water Services, is that right? Is that going to be open to the public to access at some point?
I don't know. I'll let Shannon answer that. But one of the things that I've heard over and over again from the folks at Clean Water Services is that right now they're thinking about just getting the dam removed and stabilizing the system, making it safe. And then, once all that is done, the plantings have been put in, then there'll be conversations about, well, what do we do with it next? So Shannon, anything more you want to say?
No, we also want to make sure that all the work that John and his team are doing to get well established, and I think there's a long-term commitment, decades, making sure that sticks. But we definitely will be having open houses here in the future. There'll be one this summer, and we invite you all to come and we can talk more about what we'll be doing with that property. Clean Water Services is not, we're not a property owner just for the sake of owning property. So if there's a purpose, then that's important. But I think we've achieved a lot of that purpose. So we're looking ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you going to get some hatchery fish and sort of plant them so you have fish that will go to the new areas that are open?
Not that I'm aware of. That would be a decision by ODF&W, whether that would be a priority area to reestablish some hatchery fish. Right now, it's just a native fishery. There's value in native fisheries as well as supplementation of hatchery fish. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you. I owe $1 to the brag basket, so where's that?
Over there.
Thank you so much, everybody.